Hello, hello. Welcome back to Divine Destiny Guide, sending you the purest of love and light. Always, I want to remind you we are blessed, highly favored, we are secured, we are anchored, and we are protected by divine. So, welcome, welcome, welcome. Let's get right into it. Thank you for your likes, your shares, your subscription, and your comments. Thank you very much. So, I have here King Saul. It says arrogant, prideful, envious. And then we have King David, intuitive, self-aware, reflective. And then we have the Most High, who is God, divine source, the creator, Alpha and Omega. Yes, the beginning and the end. So it's like when I saw those, so King Saul, in the Bible, when David killed Goliath, Saul was ruling at the time. And so David, the people got to know him. I mean, Saul at first, he embraced him. He promised, his daughter, David would marry to his daughter and everything. So he was very happy for David. But then when the people started to celebrate David, Saul killed 1,000, David killed 10,000. So the people would sing and dance when he was coming in, back from war or whatever. But Saul didn't like it. His love turned to jealousy and anger and hatred towards David because of David's gift. And so God, it's like Saul was tormented with a spirit, but it's like God caused that to happen. And I believe God has a sense of humor, in the sense that sometimes he will put us to work with our enemies just to see how they're going to treat us. Because David had to play his harp. So whenever Saul was tormented by David playing the harp, the music, it would help to calm him down and to relax. And even with that, Saul's hatred, it was just out of control. At one point, he threw a javelin, like a sword, at David. He had to, bend or duck so that it didn't take him out. And so from that moment, he was like on the run. Saul was after his life. And David had opportunities too, or at least had an opportunity where he could have taken Saul out. But because David honored God, and because God allowed Saul to be king, David did not want to hurt the king. But funny enough, Saul has a son, Jonathan, and he and David, they were the best of friends. Don't you know that God will give you friends in high places? Friends right there underneath the enemy, under the enemy's nose. Because even though Jonathan was Saul's son, Jonathan loved David more than he loved his father. Jonathan was in line to be king after Saul. But Jonathan knew within good faith that David was more suitable to be king more than him. Isn't that wonderful? I mean, I don't think, I've not experienced that. I'm not saying it doesn't exist. But that kind of love and appreciation and honesty, because a lot of people think that because they have been in a place longer than somebody else, or they're closer to somebody, or they're here, a family, then by nepotism, then they should automatically get that place, that position, just because of their relationship. But Jonathan knew that David is the one who should get the role. And he loved David. They had, such a bond. I mean, God will allow you to get favor, to be loved. It just reminds me how with Moses, how Pharaoh was the one oppressing the Israelites, the slaves, and yet still God allowed Moses to be in Pharaoh's house, eating Pharaoh's food, grew up in Pharaoh's house, in the enemy's camp. See, this is how even for a lot of us, we are disguises. God hid us, where you were able to go in the enemy's camp and come out unscathed, untouched, and even to find favor, to be loved, to be liked by even one person. Even one person. And it's like if you have one good friend, one solid friend, you don't need any more. And Jonathan helped David to escape a lot of the plans and the tricks that his dad had up his sleeve for David. When I look at Saul, I see also, because it has, gray hair. So he was, of course, older than David, more experienced. But it's amazing too how even older people, they get insecure. They get so jealous, out of sort, when they see somebody who is younger coming up. They look at them as a rival instead of embracing them, bringing them in, teaching them the ropes. Instead, they're hating, wanting to destroy them, to unalive them, to take them out, because they are insecure of where they are. And again, forgetting that the Most High, He is the Alpha and the Omega. He's the beginning and the end. He gives and He takes away. See, the thing with Saul is that the people wanted a king, and God said, okay, go ahead, Samuel. They find a king, and they looked at him from the outside, the look and the stature, and that's how they wanted their king to have that look. And so they got Saul. But the thing with David is that David was anointed. David was sought after by God. David was appointed. And again, for a lot of you, a lot of us, you're overlooked, because even David's family, his dad, his siblings, they forgot all about him. When Samuel went to their house to anoint, God told him to go there. He didn't give him a name or anything. But when all of them came out, and he looked at one of the brother, and it's like, oh, he has the look. And God says, no. It's like man looks at the outward part, but I look at the heart. But even with everything, it's like there is room for all of us, because both men, they were kings. But it's just that some people get greedy, and they think that they call the shots. You cannot enter without my say. When they don't realize, or they're ignorant, they don't know that God has the final say. And this is why it is so important that for where you are going, it's important that you keep God in mind and make sure that what you're doing, God is in the forefront of it. That mission is anointed, you're called to it, is what God says. Because when God orders it, like He appointed David, even though Saul chased him down and did all kind of things, he could not take David out. because David was protected. He was covered by God. Because the very same thing that Saul, the thing he didn't want to happen, is the same thing that happened. David became king anyways. So this is also an encouragement for us, that even though the enemy or enemies may kick and scream and foam and froth at the mouth and try to pull out all the stops, to block, to trap, to irritate, to get us to second guess ourselves. They want us to sabotage ourselves. When God is in it, the enemy can never succeed with whatever their plans. And even though David was anointed, he did not become king right away. And sometimes that's the frustrating part for a lot of us, because we are called, we are chosen. And it's like there is something that God has in mind for us, that for a lot of you, a lot of us, the path is unclear. The path is unclear. And we're called to go back to our regular job, called to go back to our way of life, where people overlook you, people mistreat you, they abuse you, they slander you, whatever manner of evil they do to you. But in the meantime, while you're going through all of those things, it's a way for God to use those things to sharpen you for where you are going. Because see, David needed to have the skills of a warrior. Because while he was out there with his sling and his little rocks protecting the sheep, he didn't know that one day he was perfecting his craft to take out a giant. He was agile, he was flexible, being able to adapt. That even when Saul threw the javelin or the arrow at him, because he was so used to watching his sheep and being on the edge and being alert, he was able to duck the thing that was coming to take him out. And so it is with those of us who have a calling and a purpose on our lives. Where we are right now, it may not be ideal, but trust and believe that God has a plan. Where you are, it is school, it is a training ground. Even if the enemy is trying to suppress and oppress you, but it's like you're building muscles. You're learning something that will help you in the future, where God is going to take you. See, David was so used to being out there by himself in the wilderness, out there with the sheep, that even when Saul was running him down and he had to escape and hide in caves, it became natural to him. He was not afraid, because he's used to surviving in the harsh elements of life. I mean, I wonder if you understand what I'm trying to say to you. Nothing that you go through in life will be wasted. And I know it's not easy, because when you're going through it, it's not easy. It's like, God, where are you? I can imagine sometimes David is probably thinking, why did you anoint me? What was that all about? I did not even request this. And it's almost as if because he's called, he's chosen, he has this anointing on his life, then it's like the enemies now come upon him. It's like 1 minute he was just out there doing his thing, playing his harp. You know, if a lion come by, then, you know, he would do his thing, he playing with his sling. And then he was presented with Goliath. And then, you know, here we are with this king who should be king. But again, some people can wear a crown. Some people can be old in age. Or you think they would be wise, they would be mature. And you'll be surprised, you're disappointed by the behaviors of these people who you think should know better. And as a younger person or a person who is less experienced, it ends up like you are leading. You know better than the people who you think you should be looking up to. But it's like right here, it's almost like David was between the rock and a hard place, because you have Saul and you have God right there. And so it is for a lot of us. We have the arrogant people, the people who are egotistical, full of pride, who are envious and jealous of our gifts, our talents, our abilities, the anointing, the calling on our lives. And they're seeking to do everything because they think that they are the ones who should be on the throne. Or they want to reign. They want your crown. When in fact, we're all kings and queens when you are in the will of God. It's like there is enough to go around. But when people are selfish, when they're insecure, fearful, they look at themselves, and a lot of them, they know. I mean, Saul knew that he was not equipped for the job. He knew David was in fact more skillful, a better leader than he was. And sometimes, yes, the enemies, they know, if not all the time, they know that you deserve the position. They know that you deserve what you're supposed to get. Because they know that the way that they're behaving, the way they're acting, they're terrible. They're abusive. But yet still, they think that they should be the one in charge. But again, whatever happens, but David, again, he was anointed. He was called by God. He was set apart. And see, when God anoints you, and this is why so many of us, thank you. I'm telling you, the war, it's it's waged against us. The enemies are upset. They are mad. They are big mad. Big mad. I mean, it's like, what is it that could take a king to leave his throne to go to seek after a young man in there in the wilderness, sleeping in caves and all of this stuff? What could drive somebody to do that? And this is what with the enemies, they are going above and beyond. They are doing the most to come after you. But see, they don't understand. And even though I know that a lot of them are hearing this message now, they still don't get it, that God is in control. God is in control. He was so full of hatred, so intoxicated, so poisoned, that he would leave his warm bed with his servants to go out because he was insecure, his jealousy. He wanted to take, it's kind of like the same arrogance with Pharaoh. Kill all the boys, kill all the baby boys, unalive them. But see, look at Moses. Look how God hid Moses. Look how God hid Moses. Look where Moses grew up, right under Pharaoh's nose. And he had no idea. Won't God do it? Won't he do it? This is why he's the Most High. This is why he's the Most High. And Gideon here talks about judgment, liberation, reckoning. Yeah, it's like for Saul, he was judged. God judged him and he was not right. He was not right. He was not a fair leader. He was not good for the position. But I look at Gideon, I see like the army of God who gathered up, who came against them, but they stood with David. They stood with David. See, the enemy, father of lies, unethical, immoral, diabolic, whether this is the devil himself or the people whom he occupies, who works for him, was after David. Saul and his army, they were after David. See, the thing is, when you're going through a lot of spiritual warfare and the enemy or enemies are coming after you, people may think that you must have done something wrong. Why is it that the enemy is coming after you so aggressively? Not realizing that it's because you have an anointing on your life. Because the people who will say these things, or they think they have peace in their life, they're not bothered, it's because they're not shifting the meter. These people, they're not even fogging the mirror. The devil is not at all triggered by them, because they're not doing anything. They're playing it safe. So it's like, why bother? But see, the moment you answer the call, with judgment, the moment you pick up your cross, the moment you say yes to your call, yes to your will and your way, then you now have a target on your back. And this is when the enemy will try to pull out his best, because see, God pulled out his best. So now this is how we have the war in the spirit, the spiritual warfare, where the Spirit of God is reigning in us, and the spirit of the devil is reigning in them. So therefore, they don't have any conscience. They don't see anything wrong. This is why the same devil who occupied Saul, who allowed him, who pulled him out of his warm bed, from his delicious meals, to go out there in a cave in the cold night. It's like the enemy is so aggressive, and they're blind to their ways. They can't even see that what they're doing is wrong, because they're possessed. They're taken over. So for those of you who are thinking that some of these people, we can do something for them, for a lot of them, they're so in deep, so far gone with the enemy, that, it's only between them and their God, to be honest with you. So it's like, whether you tell them about God or say to them, you know what, stop it, what you're doing is not, they are in too deep. They are in way over their head. The prophet Ezekiel talks about renewal, revitalization, resurrection, which we know with Jesus' resurrection. This is like a transformation. This is like the phoenix rising from the ashes. See, the devil is also caught up in the middle. He's caught up in the middle. But the thing is that the Most High is over the devil as well. So not only is David in between Saul and the Most High, but the devil is also in between Gideon, the army, and the prophet Ezekiel here that talks about resurrection. Because we know when Jesus was on the cross, he took the opportunity while he was here. It's like, while we're waiting on this day before I rise, let me just go down to hell to check it out. I have the keys. The devil still have to answer to God. So for those of us who, if you're feeling afraid or scared of what the enemy or the enemies are doing, realize that the devil, he has to answer to God. And the things that are happening, it's not happening to you, it's happening for you, because of the calling that you have on your life. It's like if for anything we should be, and I know when we're going through it, because trust me, I know, but it's like we should be so proud that out of so many, we are chosen by God. It's a privilege. Look how many people going about their business, and divine decides you. I want you. I want you. I want you for my kingdom, for my service. I am after your heart. Because see, even though David, he messed up in the end too, but he was a man after God's own heart. His heart was pure. So even though people and the prophet who went to anointed them, the brothers, when he went to the house, he was looking at the outside and thinking they have the stature and the look of a king. God was not impressed with the outward part. And this is what a lot of people, they think that because they have a look, is like, you don't look like a king or a queen. You don't look like you're chosen. You don't look like you're blessed. It's not about what they think. It's about what God says. And that's what we're going after. So a lot of these people, they think that because they are in that position, they are near to the boss, the supervisor, they should be in line for something. But God already has his hand on you. You are chosen and selected. And even though the devil will have his little minions, rah, 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 I'm gonna stop, I'm gonna block, I'm gonna, no way, they're huffing and they're puffing. They still can't and they won't prevail. I mean, I wish they would understand. I wish they would understand. But, it's, yeah, it is what it is. It is what it is. It is what it is. It's like Saul, in the end, he was defeated. You can't fight God. You cannot fight God. You can try, but you will not succeed. I wish somebody would get the message. You will not succeed. You can try. Keep trying. I'm just letting you know in advance. Yeah. So a lot of the times these people, because Saul, he wanted David to be stuck, to be trapped, he wanted to take him out, basically. He was so foolish, stuck in his ways. It was all about him. It was all about him and his selfishness. And he went to work with the Eight of Pentacles here. He went to work to see how he could take David out. See, with the competition, the Five of Wands, a lot of jealousy, envy here, fighting with his army. A lot of people, a lot of you have people, we have people around us who know that they're already defeated. But it's like some of them, they are going to find themselves stuck too, where they're going to have to face themselves, look at themselves. But a lot of them, they're foolish. And instead, it's like they're doubling down with the Eight of Pentacles. They're doubling down to see how they can perfect their war. We may be talking about a Queen of Wands, more in the reverse against somebody who is jealous, envious, even will engage in iniquity to see how they will win. It's like they are on a high again. The same way we are on a high for divine and fired up, passionate. It's the same way they are passionate for the devil. It's the same way. So they can't see themselves. They just want to win. They just want to win no matter what. They just want to win. I'm telling you, it's like no matter what, Knight of Cups, it's coming in. Slow and steady. Yes, the enemy may try to delay some blessings, but it is still coming in. David went around and around and around, fought many battles up and down in a cave, go around and around, but eventually he still ended up to be king. He still ended up to be king. He was still crowned as king. It's like the devil is trapped. Wow, I saw the 8 of Swords earlier. Wow. See, 7 of Wands, you're protected. Yes, it's like, you know, God's plan, 2 of Wands, it will come to pass. It will come to pass. Your emperor, your empresses, you know, it's like you're pregnant with potential. God already anoints you. You're going to give birth to this calling. You're going to give birth to whatever this is in your life. You know, it is already done. The Ace of Swords. This is the truth. This is yes and amen. The Knight of Pentacles, slow and steady, win the race. It doesn't matter how many hills and valleys, how many mountains. In the end, we're going to see how everything work. God allowed it to work together for our good. Many blessings. Until next time.